Russell and Shirley Dermond were an elderly couple that were married for over 68 years before settling down in a home worth almost $1 billion in Lake Oconee, Georgia. At this home, they had over 3,000 square feet and a private dock on the lake. Russell worked as an executive for a clock company and later he ran a chain of parties in Atlanta. The US Navy veteran had a fondness for relaxing walks, golfing, going to the movies, dining with friends and reading, while his wife Shirley enjoyed crosswords and was an avid bridge player. Both were in their 80s and they often attended Lake Oconee Community Church. People from their community described them both as friendly, humble and kind. Russell and Shirley had no known enemies and it was said that they got on with people and left a good impression no matter where they went. They did however face tragedy before as they lost their son in the year 2000 to a drug-related murder. They decided to live out the rest of the years at peace and the area that they moved to matched that lifestyle, as crime was extremely low and the neighbourhood that they lived in had a guard present at the entrance and all neighbours were not only friendly but friends. Before people realised that the couple were missing, they were supposed to attend a Kentucky Derby party with their neighbours on May 3rd, 2014, but Shirley last seen on May 1st at Bridge Club, and Russell last seen doing groceries and golfing on May 2nd never attended the party. A few days later on May 6th, after many failed attempts at contacting the couple by phone, a couple of their neighbours went to the Dermond residence to check on them, as they haven't heard from them in a few days, which they thought was peculiar. In the driveway of the home, they noticed that their mail and newspapers were still in their mailbox, and to the neighbours' surprise, the door was unlocked and the house was immaculate except for an unmade bed and a crooked lampshade in the living room. The Dermonds' phone and keys were still in the house. Upon further inspection of the house, the neighbours found a pool of dry blood in the garage. Next to it was the presumed body of 88-year-old Russell Dermond. At first they weren't sure if it was him, but the head had been decapitated and was nowhere to be found, just like Shirley Dermond. When police arrived at the crime scene, they confirmed the body was in fact Russell. Shirley was nowhere to be seen. Due to the drag marks near Russell's body, they ruled Shirley as a suspect, as authorities knew that she wouldn't be capable of dragging his body across the garage, but she was still missing and they knew she was probably in great danger. This murder shocked both neighbours and law enforcement because both Shirley and Russell lived a quiet and undisturbed life. To add to the strangeness of the case, one of the Dermonds' son Keith said that his mother and father were religious about locking the doors and turning on the home security system, leaving him to believe that this horrific attack took place during the day. But when a murder and presumed kidnapping in broad daylight, with no witnesses or evidence, just seemed unrealistic and far-fetched. The sheriff's department checked the security footage around the days they thought the murder occurred, but unfortunately a lightning storm unknowingly rendered the cameras useless, and if the killer drove to the property, there is no footage of it. Ten days later, on May 16, two fishermen noticed the body floating face down in the water. Police identified the body to be that of 87-year-old Shirley Dermond. They reckon she died somewhere between May 2nd and May 3rd, the same time as her husband. She died from blunt force trauma to the head. The killer dumped her body in the lake post-mortem and attached two 30-pound cinder blocks to her in an attempt to hide the evidence. Russell was also beaten, but because there was no fatal wounds on his body, the medical examiner concluded the missing head was took the blow, and the killer took it to hide any identification of a weapon or firearm that could have been used. Because of how careful the killer was, the sheriff's department believed that there was more than one person involved. The most frustrating thing about this case is that there was no evidence or witnesses. There was also no clear motive for the attack, as the couple had no known enemies. Lack of forced entry to home indicated that the couple may have known their attackers. The Dermond children were ruled out as suspects, so who wanted this elderly couple dead and why? 1. Drug-related. There is a theory that this could have had something to do with the murder of their son Mark, who was shot dead by a man named Troy Major during a cocaine drug deal. Troy was sentenced to life in prison and his appeals were denied. Some believe this was somehow connected, but there's no evidence to support that. 2. Mafia hit. Although none of these theories have been proved, people definitely speculate. Another theory that Russell Dermond was in the witness protection program and was targeted by the mafia. Sheriff Stills, however, said that Russell was not in witness protection program and had no known enemies, therefore there was no reason to believe that this was done by an organised crime group. Three, serial killer. Some people think that this was related to the killing of a serial killer. Not long after Russell and Shirley's death, there was a murder very similar to theirs in New York. The victim was 83-year-old Lois, who was also bludgeoned to death, but authorities ruled this out as the couple had no connection to Lewis or New York, except that that's where Shirley grew up and moved away after college. Four, extortion. The only theory that the Sheriff's Department think is the most likely is that the couple may have been threatened for money or valuables, and when they couldn't or wouldn't pay, they were murdered because of it. None of these theories have any evidence to confirm them, but most frustrating thing about this case is that we may never truly know what happened to Russell and Shirley. May they rest in peace. And if you liked this video and would like more, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up.